Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as you know, divorce happens and then we start fresh. And we're here with one of our Fresh Starts experts, Lyerly. Lyerly, can you tell us a little bit about what you do before we dive into today's topic?
Sure. First of all, Olivia, it's always great to be here with you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
I am a certified ADR pre-mediation coach and founder of Step Up with Lyerly. I work with individuals navigating divorce to help them calm their chaos, communicate clearly, and make wise, value-aligned decisions throughout the divorce process. So,
I love that.
Like a lot of my clients, I've been through divorce myself, so I understand how overwhelming it can all be, and emotionally, financially, mentally. So I'm here to help people through that process.
Yes, because we don't go to divorce school to learn how to get divorced. And so,
We're not planned for that.
no, I mean, that's most of the calls that I get is like, how do I even get started? And then I send them over to Lyerly and she helps them get started. And today we're talking about something that I feel like we all know is part of divorce, but we don't talk about it enough, which is anger, which is a really, really strong, important emotion. So
Yes.
tell us your thoughts on this, Lyerly. You have some really cool thoughts about anger.
I do. I think anger is something that typically we are told we should manage, we should swallow. These are terms we hear, count to 10, we want to suppress it, don't go to bed angry. And anger is really a secondary emotion. It's like a warning signal telling you that something is wrong. So a lot of times I think people in general, and especially in divorce, they have a tendency to push their anger away, thinking it's bad. And what they should really figure out how to do is to listen to it and try to figure out what it's telling them.
Yeah, I love that. I have a lot of my own thoughts on this about anger and different aspects of all of life. And
Yes.
I love that you're reframing this. I almost think about like Disney, like Inside Out, or is that Pixar?
Yeah.
Like, something like that, right? Where it's like we need to release these emotions to really see what they're trying to tell us. So how does this play into, let's say, like the spectrum of the divorce process? With everything from kind of the consideration of divorce to the trauma of getting divorced and on. Where does anger play a part in that?
Well, a lot of times, like I was saying, people think they should suppress their anger. And if we really listen to what it's telling us, it's giving us information. So when I say secondary emotion, I mean, we're angry because of something. We're angry because we're afraid of something. We're angry because we feel like a boundary's been crossed. We feel shamed. We're ashamed of something. We're guilty about something. And that can manifest as arguments, repetitive pattern arguments, just blowing up out of nowhere. I have a few examples where it really does show up in divorce.
Yeah.
So
I want to hear.
the first one is, say you have a partner and you have multiple interactions and you feel belittled constantly, or you feel put down, and you're in front of your children and you have a tendency to make that okay. You don't want the anger there, so you placate your partner and you get your kids to bed and you go to bed and you're furious. You're so angry. Well, what are you really angry about? You're embarrassed. You're shamed probably that you allow this. You feel like you're allowing this to happen. So, but you don't want to rock the boat. So you swallow your anger and you keep going. And over time, that's going to eat away at you. It will eat away, obviously, at your relationship, and it'll eat away at your self-esteem. So by listening to that anger, can address it. Is that emotional abuse? Is it a pattern? How do you deal with it? In divorce, naming some of these things helps figure out how to get through them. That's one example.
It's a great example. I think it's a very common example, right? And especially women have been told, like you said in the beginning of the episode, for years and years just to suppress their anger. Anger is not ladylike. Anger is, out of control, right? Out of control,
Yes,
hysterical,
exactly.
right? All of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, and, we're people pleasing when we wanna, and especially in front of our children, and we have to think about if that's a repetitive pattern and I'm allowing myself to be treated like this, I start feeling bad at myself. What is
Right.
that demonstrating to my children? What am
Right.
I modeling there?
Right.
So that's one recognition. Another one that I see is people that are flare up out of nowhere. They just get really angry. They're nothing has quote unquote happened in their relationship, but say they're feeling like they're roommates. They're feeling like there's no spark in their relationship anymore. They feel that they want more and they can't communicate well with this person. Their values have changed, their goals have changed, whatever over time.
Yeah.
And that anger manifests as, you left your socks on the floor, whatever, comes some big argument. And if you dig deep into that, that could be about, God, this is not a bad person, but I just feel really guilty that I want more.
Mm,
And they carry that guilt and some shame with them. So that's another way that anger is trying to give you information.
right. It's never really about the thing, right? And I think that
Yeah.
that's tricky to unpack when you're in the heat of the moment.
Right. And information like that is really valuable if you're trying to figure out how to move forward. Because if you keep repeating these patterns, you get in these looping situations, then you're never making any progress. Say you're in
Right.
the first scenario, you're just like, okay, I just want everything to be okay. But who's suffering there? Who's really the one who's staying angry? Or
Right.
not staying angry enough, maybe. That's the other part, is
Mm,
maybe you need to actually stay angry, and that was actually advice given to me when I was getting divorced, and I thought,
mm,
"What? That is the worst advice. Why? I mean, I don't wanna be angry anymore. That's the whole
yeah.
point."
Right.
And someone very wise said to me, "No, you need to hold on to that anger. You need to remember why you're angry, and
Right.
then maybe that's the spark that you need."
Right. Because actually, the scariest thing is feeling nothing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so having anger is at least an emotion, right? That you can use like a spark. I like
Yeah,
that.
like a catalyst, right? Like, I've
Yeah.
decided now that this has happened. I don't wanna feel like this anymore. I don't want this. I don't wanna feel ashamed. I don't wanna feel guilty. Maybe it's someone who's totally messed up your finances and you're in the dark and you don't re you know, you realize that, wow,
Yeah.
I'm all of a sudden I'm afraid of my stability,
Right.
and you don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So that can be the driving force for change.
Now, you've said this a few times, the relationship between shame and
Mhm.
anger. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, because I think that in those scenarios which I outlined, the shame, say, of deciding to leave a partner who's not a bad person, right? It's just that you've out the relationship doesn't have any more
Right.
legs. And there is shame around that because you think, well, I failed. There's, what nobody did anything wrong, so I'm ashamed that I want more. And that has to be dug into. You have to explore that. And
Yeah.
I do find women, I'm sure you speak to people that are
And
feeling
it's
that
okay to
emotion.
want more. If anybody's listening to this, yes, it's
Yeah,
okay.
it is okay to
You're
want more, and that's
allowed to want
perfectly
more. Yeah.
fine, and it's not something to be ashamed of or guilty of.
Right. Right.
Now you dig deeper, and that means you don't wanna hurt someone.
Right.
So this is where I find the process takes a lot longer. Do you find that as
Yeah.
well?
I do. I do. A lot of I mean, so many women are people pleasers. Most women, I'm going to
Yes.
say, are people pleasers. And yeah, the women that I talk to that are just like, we've grown apart. He's a good guy, but this is not the life for me. Actually, they find it harder to leave, right? And um, feel a lot more shame and guilt than women that are being like emotionally abused or financially abused. Let's say, but then on the flip side, I know there's a lot of shame in, like, how did I let this happen to me? And then
Yes.
feeling anger around that too.
And that can be directed at yourself, and that is something that takes time. That takes a lot
Yeah.
of self-forgiveness because in those emotionally abusive relationships, that dynamic really takes away someone's self-esteem, and so
Yeah.
building that up takes time. It takes time and work
Yep.
and 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 really forgiving yourself for not knowing what you didn't know.
And support, working with somebody like you, right, to
Yeah.
unpack a lot of that. So, okay, what do we do with this anger though, Lyerly? Like, do we walk around with it? Like,
Invite it. You sit down and you talk to it, really. I think, when you journaling is a great, um, medium for if we're exploring that. Safe people. a trusted friend
Yeah.
who, if you go to someone, say, with this idea, like, I have this anger, help me unpack it, help me figure out what is this trying to tell me? So if you
Mm,
look at anger as a, like I said, a warning signal,
yeah.
what you gotta dig, look under the hood. What's in there? What's making this light go off?
Right.
And in terms of divorce, what am I willing to do to change it?
Right. Right. There's so many benefits to anger, right? Like you said, it could be the catalyst, the spark, the thing that makes you start to unpack and look under the hood. And yet, we're told culturally that it's something we run away from,
Yeah.
right? And so, how can we, start to creep back up to that relationship with our anger? Is it journaling? Is it just letting ourselves, like, do we schedule 15 minutes a day to sit and feel angry? Like, what do you recommend with your clients?
I think that I think that people do, to your point, tend to run away from it. That is our instinct. We are just basically told,
Scary.
especially, yeah, we're afraid of it. That's a good point. We are
Yeah.
afraid of being angry because we have been told it's a bad emotion. And it's really, like I said, it's that secondary emotion. It's you're angry because of something.
Right.
And that's the challenge is if you get really angry, you lose your cool. It's not just you're not crazy. Your body's trying to tell you something. Your neuro, your
Right.
whole system is saying, your nervous system is saying something's wrong here. And the
Yeah.
more you suppress it, I think, in my experience, the harder it is to get through it.
So maybe we reframe anger as a symptom of something
Correct.
else.
Exactly. Yes. It is a
Yeah.
symptom. It is a in its best form, I think, a catalyst for change. If you can reframe it like that.
That's what
Is that
Lyerly's next book is going to be. Yes,
the
anger is the
anger is
catalyst
a
for change.
catalyst for change?
Um, Lyerly, if somebody is listening to this and feeling that immense fucking anger that they're
Yeah.
carrying around from divorce, what would be some words of encouragement you could just let them wash over your words, over them today?
Well, I think anger can be the bridge between your pain and your purpose. I think it's something that you have to explore. And divorce comes with a lot of anger. There are a lot of issues to work out, legal, emotionally, financially, your co-parenting situation. It's upheaval in every aspect of your life. So turning that emotion into information, just driving it forward, using it as a driver forward, and be friends with it. Say, okay, I'm not gonna hide from this anymore. I'm going to
Mm.
embrace and dig down and find out what this is telling me. Because I
What
think
a
the longer we embrace,
it's a revolutionary idea, right? To like be a friend, to hold hands with our anger.
right? Well, we give ourselves a lot of grace when we're sad, right? We allow ourselves to feel grief. We allow ourselves, if we're happy, we embrace that. And anger, we run from it. We even have shame around being angry. So it perpetuates itself as this just fire. And it can be, it can be a spark. It doesn't have to be a wildfire. It can
Mm.
it can be information.
Yeah, I love that. Can you remind us again what you do and how you work with people and how people can get in touch with you?
Sure. I work one-on-one as a divorce coach. And like I mentioned before, I think I'm trained in ADR. So I come to everything through an alternative dispute resolution lens. I like to help people through the mediation process. I'm trained as a co parenting specialist. And I combine all those things to help people manage the emotional, financial, logistic process of divorce in the goal of helping them save time, money, and stress. And I can be found on my website at stepupwithlyerly.com. And I have an Instagram, which is stepup_with Lyerly. And I can be found on your fabulous website, Fresh Starts Registry, as well.
Amazing. Yes, you can go to freshstartsregistry.com/experts and check out Lyerly's profile and book a free call with her and get in touch and learn more about what she offers. And I always will say this, always and always, working with a divorce coach will save you time and money down the line. So if you are not working with a divorce coach, it's our first stop on the divorce journey train. So, stop what you're doing, look up Lyerly, get in touch, and I know that, I wish I'd had a Lyerly when I was going through my divorce, because I would have been a lot more grounded and my nervous system would not have been so shaken up. I'm still recovering years later because I didn't have that support. And I know the support you give to people, and it's just beautiful. And so we're really thankful that you are part of our community. And I'm very much looking forward to reading your manifesto about anger. So thank you so much.
You'll be one of the first.
I can't wait. Thank you for being here, Lyerly.
Thanks for all you do, Olivia.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.